everyone, it's Richard Lewis here for another episode of The Richard Lewis Show. Joining me as he always does is my producer Sam, that's Sam of the Clan Davies.
You can't say I'm of the clan, but when we make these podcasts.
The Clan, not the Clan.
Yeah, you can't
the
just
Clan
say
Davies.
that now, what?
The Clan Davies. Not of the Clan.
If we
The
just
Clan
said
Davies.
of the clan.
The Davies.
Sam of the clan Davies.
Mate, you're getting like them fucking students, mate. Everything's
well, that was
racist.
my wrestling name or something retarded, but that was my nickname of the clan.
no, mate. It's Sam of the Clan Davies.
Alright, okay.
That's, yeah. Or like if I was Scottish, Colin of the Clan MacLeod. Yeah, exactly. Fucking hell, mate. You definitely.
Just checking it. You can't just drop an of the clan on me out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I think that was nearly like the time Anders did that by accident.
Wait, what did he say? Oh, the FaZe Clan thing.
Yeah, he was like talking about how FaZe Clan were going to win. And he was like, "Yep, I think the Clan are going to come up big here."
Bloody hell!
You've only gone and dropped a Clan, Anders. Right, but yeah, it turns out the word Clan inherently isn't racist. Let's not encourage that madness. Anyway, so look, speaking of madness, dude, I'm going to open the show a little bit differently to how I usually do it, right? Because I think this is, important to sort of just to give people some perspective about what my day-to-day entails. And obviously, I do a lot of work, and I try and keep abreast of things that are going on politically, media trends, any big stories, as well as just doing the investigative stuff, recording videos and podcasts, and occasionally, when it's required, doing some work for the Turner Network. And obviously the new season of Ely's coming soon, so I won't have as much time to do any of this stuff. But I don't know what it is. I've often wondered if, do you know what I mean when I say I must have one of those faces? Do you know what I mean? Like I go out in the yeah, I always get the buttes, right? Like I go out in the public, and if there's a guy that's like, I don't know, a little bit strange, they always seem like come and talk to me, always, like without fail, religiously. Anybody, if there's ever a scene as well, like, when people are just having a scene, they're just making a scene, If I'm there, if I'm within earshot or eye shot of the scene, they'll say, look at this scene that I'm making, and they'll ask me my opinions about the scene. Like, you saw them try and abduct me, the aliens. Yeah. And I'm a pretty I'm a pretty nice and approachable guy, so I talk to people. The aliens, they were getting you. They're definitely just Walmart security though. So maybe listen to them before you get tasered, all right? But it just seems to happen to me. And on social media, I just get some absolute lunatics. I mean, seriously. I just get people who, again, I talk about it a lot. There are people out there who are disturbed, mentally ill, and they don't get help, right? And they don't get help because they don't think they have a problem. They don't think they're ill, and they are. So I just want to show you an example of that. And this is this guy called Alex 8 Steven on Twitter. And it was just a really fucking weird exchange, like completely uninvited as well. Like, I don't mind because I will interact with people on social media. A lot of people say, oh, you just block everyone who disagrees with you. No, I block people like this. All right. And I'm going to show you, this is why you have to just block them in the end, because they're too crazy. They can't be reasoned with. They're never going to have a normal human interaction with you ever again. So all of this Vault 7 stuff's been going on, these WikiLeaks about the CIA, and it confirms a lot what we already kind of knew and worse, that, the NSA and the CIA have basically used technology against us and have this huge, like, fucking spying network. So you can see that there was a tweet by a guy called Lionel Media. Lionel's a commentator that I follow. He's a political correspondent, and he does his own YouTube stuff. He's won Emmys. He's been around. He's an interesting guy. I like to watch his stuff and get his thoughts on it. And he doesn't have a huge Twitter following, but he certainly has been out there and He knows what he's talking about. So I like him. But anyway, he tweeted saying, "You and the world owe Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson apologies now." And that was because way back when, I think 11 years ago, InfoWars had done a report saying that the government are planning to use microphones in your TV and other technology against you. Now, we all know that, look, InfoWars, they do report some stuff that's just outlandish and crazy, and I can't get on board with it. And I know that every publication I've ever worked at has a rule. Like, you never cite InfoWars. You just never cite them. It doesn't matter what they're saying, what they're reporting, you ignore them because it's conspiracy theory nonsense. But the reality is, nobody can be wrong all the time. Like, nobody is wrong. Like, I don't think Alex Jones or anyone who publishes anything at InfoWars sits down and tries to make up a story. I think they might spin some stuff. And I think some stories are just false, maybe from bad intel. Maybe, they just didn't vet a source and they were like, this crazy guy is going on the record and saying this. I'm happy to publish what that says. And look, I've seen the Alex Jones videos. People talk about the frogs turning gay as if that's like, a joke. It's been reported in several credible, scientific publications that there's estrogen in the water and it's affecting sexual behavior in animals, pond life, and that kind of thing. So people laugh at that, and there's obviously that kernel of truth within it. But equally, I've seen Alex Jones tell me he's seen a human frog hybrid alive in a tank fighting for life. Yeah, and at that point, I have to say that's where Alex Jones, the showman, takes over, and Alex Jones, the journalist, has died. Right, But he's a smart guy. And I find him entertaining, and I listen to him, and I don't always believe him, and that's fair enough. But in this instance, he was proven to be inarguably right, not a right-wing conspiracy theorist nut job, to just be on the money and correct. And that's what Lionel was saying when he tweeted that out. So I retweeted it because I think it's interesting, isn't it, that if that had come out now, without the existence of WikiLeaks, it would get dismissed as fake news. That report would be banned on Facebook. You wouldn't be allowed to see it. You wouldn't be allowed to read it. So I retweeted it because I think that's interesting, isn't it? That's an interesting thing to talk about. So as you'll see from Twitter here, enter Alex 8 Stephen. He comes in and he goes, "Richard, come on, man. Your right-leaning stuff is fine, but retweeting an article calling for an apology to Alex Jones, he is a maniac." Right? I mean, he doesn't understand what a maniac is. But so retweeting an article calling for an apology to Alex Jones, I don't understand what the great crime is here. But I ignored that tweet, because I just thought that's just retarded. Just ignore it. It's stupid. Keep in mind, this is one of those guys who doesn't have a big following and yet, tweets quite regularly. So it's just tweets into the void. Like no one cares what he thinks. Like not even his friends. Yeah. Just nobody cares what he thinks. Not even the people in his life care what he thinks. Not even the people who follow him. Not even the, however many it is that have chosen to follow him care what he thinks. There's no interaction. There's just nothing. It's just like shouting at yourself in a room. You just, yeah. You may as well be doing that, right? No one cares. Like no one cares. So then he wouldn't let it lie, and he followed it up with, whether or not he is right on this, he peddles in conspiracy theories. This hurts your credibility as a real journalist. He is a disease. So, I'm put in this position immediately where my credibility is being attacked for retweeting something another journalist said. So think about the degrees of separation there. Like, I've said nothing about Alex Jones, not mentioned him. I've not said anything about InfoWars, not mentioned them. I have simply retweeted a thought by another journalist who mentions Alex Jones. That's it. That's my cardinal sin. And yet that somehow ruins my credibility. This is somebody, never had to issue a retraction, never had to issue an apology in all the many years I've been a reporter. Incredibly proud of that record. The leading esports journalist by some distance. And someone who's not afraid to publish big stories, which fair enough, in this field, it might not be Pulitzer Prize winning, but I have changed the structure, the shape, the landscape of esports with my reporting and continue to do so.
Yeah, but he's got an ace as his pitcher, but so I'm going to go with him.
So I am interested in how it hurts my credibility, right? Very interested in that. So I asked him, how does that retweet hurt my credibility in any way? Looking forward to this one. And then he said he produces nonsense word vomit. Again.
Thing is, but when did word vomit become bad? I like a good word vomit now and then, but like, don't you like having an Alex Jones in our world? I like a contrarian. I like, what? I want to listen to some crazy shit right now and lose my mind in an existential crisis.
Yeah. Interdimensional child molesting vampires, like
I'm glad bring it on, said it, mate. About time.
Yeah, bring it on, right? And then he goes, so he replied to the answers. Basically, if you believe the stuff he spews, which I've not said.
Yeah, exactly.
How can we believe you? How can we believe you? So if you believe the things he says, which you haven't said or intimated, how can we believe you? Why would you even want to be associated with such a guy? How am I associated with Alex Jones? Like, in what way, more tea, Alex.
The steps that he's jumped up with.
Oh, sorry. I can't put the water in the kettle to make some more tea because it's busy in that vat with the frog-human hybrid. So we'll have to wait.
Kettle's got microphones.
Yeah, don't.
As soon as you turn that switch on, it powers on the microphone.
Yeah, I can't drink bottled water. It turns me gay. That was why I sucked that guy off in a trailer park once. It was the bottled water.
Only.
So.
Gotta drink your own piss is the only thing the government can't touch.
Just imagine the fucking leaps this guy has made in his mind. I have retweeted something another journalist said about Alex Jones. I have not mentioned Alex Jones. I've not typed his name by this point. And he's saying you believe him and you're associated with him, so we can no longer trust you as a journalist. And so, I try and be normal here. Well, this report was accurate. That's inarguably true. Dismissing people without looking at facts would make you a moron, which is true. Makes you a moron. If you here are the facts. Who wrote those facts? Was it Alex Jones? Yeah, but the facts. No, blah blah blah. InfoWars. Blah blah blah. If you do that, you're stupid, right? Like the idea that a source is forever tainted. You'll see it on this show all the time. I've got no truck with BuzzFeed. I think they're a fucking dog shit website. But if they publish something that's worth reading, or they publish something that's accurate, I judge them on the work. I don't judge them.
We did that previous show. The show we just recorded for this. We said, "Oh, actually, well done, BuzzFeed. You actually did something good."
Yeah, that's how you have to live. Imagine if you were the one good journalist at BuzzFeed. Well, everyone else is writing clickbait and stuff, and you're trying to do something hard hitting. And you're like, oh god, they've just published the piss dossier, and it makes no sense. And you're trying to do work, and you break a huge story, and then this guys like this are out there. Well, you write for BuzzFeed, so everything you write is terrible, and then you can't be trusted because you write for BuzzFeed. I have just broke a fucking huge story here that's got really big, wide-reaching ramifications. Will anyone listen to it? No, you read BuzzFeed. What kind of deranged idiot would you be? So I'm just like, okay.
But how, if you hold these standards for your own leaning publications, you would fuck every publication. What if the left held this standard to CNN? GG.
You don't get it, lol. Right? He follows up with too much logic for you here, so I'm the moron. Cool. Alex Jones is a journalist just like you. Got it. Like, where did logic enter this exchange? Like, there is no logic. This guy has literally lost his mind because somebody he follows retweeted someone he doesn't follow, and that somebody was saying, hey, I think the world owes Alex Jones an apology because he was right about something that was very important. So I say, look, you're just making things up. I never said it. You're always this delusional. You can't actually be so dense as to not get the point I'm making. So now I'll assume you're just trolling because you have nothing better to do today. Now, this guy described himself as a lawyer by day. There's no way this guy's a lawyer because if this is the level of argumentation, like there's just no way. You couldn't do it. And I said, if you are a trained lawyer and you think this is how you argue, I'd hate to ever have to be your client. And then he follows up with...
I interrupt.
Yeah,
he lied once.
yeah, he said, I would like this case dismissed. Why? He has retweeted somebody who said something about Alex Jones and therefore is discredited as a witness.
Case dismissed.
The judge is going to go, are you mentally ill? Like, that's the end of that conversation, isn't it? So look, I still think I've been reasonably polite up to this point. And he says, it's okay. Everyone knows when you've lost, you resort to name calling and attacks to scare the opponent into submission. Right? You are so clever. So I told him, because when people say you've lost the argument if you resort to name calling, what if your argument is just so fucking stupid you deserve to be called names? What happens then?
Yeah, not unless my argument is what you've done leads you to be a moron. Then I can call you a moron because that's what the argument is. Like this is, you're talking about word vomit. This is like somebody is broken away from their carer after being told, if you go on the internet, you will harm yourself. You are going to be deeply ill, right? Like, and they've just quick must type, love you in there. Like, it's just spiraled out of control. Like, he's just gone from 0 to 60. Like, there's just no logic in anything he said. And then he follows it up there, like, you are actually a noxious troll. Your defensive bullying will cost me some point. What is defensive bullying? How do you bully someone defensively? I must have missed that, like, in judo class. The biggest oxymoron I've ever heard.
It's mad, isn't it? Defensive bullying.
How is that in someone's mind, though, mate? How has he thought of that and said, that makes sense, I'll put that down?
This guy has attacked my credibility for retweeting something else another journalist said. That's it. Not even the journalist he has, he takes issue with, Alex Jones. A different journalist, right? So still, there is no connection between me, InfoWars, anything at this point. And he says, I am not credible for that. So he's attacked me to the core of my being, effectively. His implication in what he's saying is, I cannot be believed because I retweeted something someone else said. I cannot be believed. Any work that I publish from this point onwards cannot be believed. I am a liar. I am a shill. I cannot be trusted because of that one retweet. It's all over for me. So for me, saying to him, that's a bit mentally ill, that, mate. Defensive bullying. He is defending himself somehow and bullying me. Right? So obviously, because I reply to people with the at the end, right?
The Richard special, as I like to call it.
Yeah, I love doing that. Because, I like to give people a window into the fucking insanity I have to deal with. Like, look, you're supposed to ignore these people. That's what they say. Just to block and move on. But, I think you have at least a little bit of an obligation to try and stop somebody being this fucked. I look at it this way. It's like people who say, you don't give homeless people money because they'll spend it on drugs and alcohol. Well, not all of them. And maybe I'd still rather they had the money.
Yeah, maybe that fiver will, start a new life instead of half a bag of heroin. You never know. Sometimes it's worth the risk.
So, bizarre, right? And again, so he then says that my fans are 70% egg avatars, right? So, again, a number I assume he's just pulled out of his arse. Right. Well, gonna get that one out there. 70% egg. I mean, it's just not true, is it?
Scanning through every follower you have with my photographic memory.
Yeah, all 94,000 followers, and I have to. Yeah, there's just no way, right? So, and he says, I guess trolls like trolls. So now I'm no longer a journalist now. I am now a troll because I have pointed out how fucking dumb his argument is. Which, again, if he is going to be a lawyer and a trial lawyer and not just some little fucking retarded lawyer who just sits in an office and, there was a typo there and sends out cease and desist letters that no one pays any attention to, charging $25 a pop for the privilege. If he wants to be an actual lawyer and actually practice law and go into court cases and stuff and make arguments, I mean, this is pathetic. This is a pathetic level of intellect to be operating at. So then I said, I think most people can understand retweets aren't endorsements and don't reflect on the integrity of those who make them. This is factually wrong. So that statement, ladies and gentlemen, is factually wrong. It's factually wrong. Retweets aren't endorsements and don't reflect on the integrity of those who make them. This is factually wrong. You did retweet this as an endorsement. If you don't endorse it, why wasn't that your initial response? Regardless if it is or isn't, it wasn't even Alex Jones I retweeted, and you behaved as if you were mentally ill. Again, read your tweet. You are wrong and have a bad memory. Well, let's just revise that then. So let's read my tweet. It wasn't Alex Jones I retweeted, was it? Unless Alex Jones is working undercover and is this Lionel guy, then this guy's fucking out of his gourd. I mean, he's on crack. Like, he's just fucked. So we can expand it. So, to summarize, you retweeted something mentioning Alex Jones. This ruins your integrity as a journalist. Now, that's a fair summary.
Not bad.
That actually is a fair summary of what happened. And then he said, just mentioning him is one thing. I didn't even mention him. The tweet was calling for him to be apologized to. The tweet I didn't make. And then he goes, your skill with spin is good. These are just demonstrable facts. This is just a factual breakdown on what happened. And he said, yes, your tweet also linked to an InfoWars article. Didn't. Never linked to an InfoWars article. You can see there that I linked to somebody. I retweeted somebody who linked to an InfoWars article. Not the same. Clear, it at least calls for apology to Jones. Why are you acting like it doesn't? I've never contested that. Never contested the content. You mean someone else has tweeted that? I retweeted it. I'm going to block you now so you can start getting well. Bye. Because at this point, it's clear that this guy is fucked in the feed. His feed's gone. The information that's going in is no longer syncing up with reality. Yeah, he's just gone. So here's the thing. Bring up his account. Would it end there? Should it end there? Like, after I've blocked him? Right? Look at just look at some of the things he's saying. Funny, you are still talking about this. Must have struck a nerve. I'm not the one whose Twitter feed is full of this shit. You're just tweeting at me. You tweeted at me after I fucking blocked you. Right? He says, one of us is a professional name caller. One is a professional arguer. You're neither? Like, and I'm neither. I'm not either of those. And neither are you. I like my spot. Keep saying moron instead of using logic, all this great logic. So does he end there? No, of course he doesn't. He says, on second thought, the fact that you linked to an InfoWars article inarguably didn't, hurts your credibility as a journalist more than anything. What a joke. Then he tries to bring other people in who he thinks are going to help his argument, right? No one cares. Like, nobody cares about this. Like, it was a retweet. Nobody cares, right? So he goes to Thorin. Why would a credible journalist call for an apology to Alex Jones and cite an InfoWars article to do it? Which I didn't do. Right? And Thorin just said, I think Thorin tweeted, there you can see it, guilt by association, the standard weapon of the moron and the corrupt. And then he answered, and then he followed up by saying, yes, clearly nothing Alex Jones ever does can be correct. You aren't mentally ill. Sarcasm. Because obviously, this person is fucking, he's gone. He's like, all of this, and it doesn't even end here. All of this is happening because I retweeted somebody that said, think you owe InfoWars an apology. That's it, right? That is all it took to trigger this person to this degree, to this level of mental illness, to you're not credible anymore because you retweeted somebody else saying something I don't like. Wow, dude, like, are you all right? Do you want to have a talk? Do you want me to get your parents in here? Are you okay?
Mate, he's still talking about it today.
I know. That's
M. Tracy. What a credible journalist. Share an article from InfoWars.
Well, look, here we go, right? If that is guilt by association, then I am guilty of it for sure. And now my opinion of the person have changed. So, again, his opinion of me as a journalist, as a person, has changed because of that one retweet. That's mental instability there in a nutshell. And he said, guess I'm in the wrong here. So, maybe, would you leave it?
Hang on, has he actually grown up?
No. He hasn't, because then what he did is I'd blocked him by this point, and he realizes it. So then he starts the old classic subtweet. into the void, because no one cares. If no one cares what he thinks, right? If someone you thought was a credible journalist linked an article by InfoWars to make a point, didn't do that, you would stop thinking they are credible, right? And then look, 4 replies from people who follow me. Only one of them an egg. So by his logic, 3 of those people should be eggs. No, and he said no, but if someone is a lawyer and couldn't state what they were arguing about, that's a red flag for me. Got him.
That's a goddy.
That's a goddy. If someone retweeted a tweet that had a link to InfoWars where InfoWars was correct, I would stop thinking you were credible, and then someone dropped the old mentally ill. Thank you, Alex Tapaldo. Oh, Tapaldo, you know exactly what's going on there. So now he starts bringing in M. Tracy, who's been on the show. Now, me and Mr. Tracy, obviously we don't agree, but you can go watch the podcast we did together. We talked a lot about media bias and reporting, and he doesn't agree to the degree I do that it's like a conspiracy, that this is a controlled narrative, the anti-Trumpers have got it, but he also does correct the hysteria where he sees it. And he also refused to, say, he was pushed out of Vice. And whatnot. He's a very level-headed guy and doesn't like to believe in big overarching conspiracies. So this guy, Alex Stephen, knows that he's been on the show, knows that I have that regard for him, knows that he's a balanced guy, and then tries to get him involved. This guy don't give a fuck. He's busy. He's got things to do. He just joined the Young Turks. He's like the one sensible person they got over there. Imagine what his life is like on a day-to-day basis. He doesn't need any more mentally ill people. He's got to deal with Sean King. Like, dude, you're not black, all right? Like,
and a Kasparian in his ears. Oh, bloody hell, can I go home?
I'm just better than you. He's got to deal with that every fucking day. Pity that guy, because he's good people. Would a credible journalist share an article from InfoWars calling for an apology to Alex Jones? R. Lewis reports and I disagree. Mate, there's nothing to disagree about. It just didn't happen. You're just fucked. Like, literally, you are just fucked. This is how, what are we at? Like 25, 30 tweets now? This is madness.
I don't even get what his point is, right? Even if we accept his point that Alex Jones is mentally ill, pretend that every other thing that's come out of Alex Jones' mouth is absolute shit and is never true. Why can't you apologise to him being right once? Why are you not allowed to apologise to someone? Why is that the big hang-up? Sorry! Say sorry!
And then he tweets at him again. Like a double tweet.
What is he doing, bud?
He's gone, hasn't he? He's in the shadow realm. He's never coming back, mate.
What's he doing, bud? Right, so he's just pretending to be a lawyer, bud, right? And just tweeting all day. I don't get it, bud. Honestly, my mind boggles at these people.
But mate, honestly, I don't fucking know. But I'll tell you, he's just one. He's just one of like dozens that I get on a daily basis. And, it's like, it's sad. Like, it's,
I'll have to start collecting them, but bring back You Speak Your Brains as everything
but like, the thing about You Speak Your Brains is that they were just one-off comments that were... This is like a sustained diatribe of just somebody being unwell. And what I find increasingly is that's the type of person I get. Like, I don't get the funny one-off guys who, like, go on YouTube and go, lol, fat baldy prick. Like, that's funny. Like, yeah, let's do that. What I get is these guys who are like, yeah, well, you've said something I disagree with, so now all your credibility is gone, and you did this. Yeah, but I didn't, though. Yeah, but you did. And it's just like these weird fucking arguments. Like, there was another guy on fucking YouTube who, like, obviously got a fucking bee in his bonnet about, the I by power throw still to this day, telling me I'm definitely not a journalist. I'm definitely don't work for a TV company. Like, he thinks I've only got the YouTube channel. He doesn't understand this is like a hobby. This is something I do on the side. I'm not reliant on it for money or anything, And he's going, meanwhile, I have passed all of these things and done all of these things. And he's just like a regular guy who got like a degree, is married to a fucking secretary. And he's like bragging about all of these things. Like, he's achieved like loads in his life. Who gets married in their fucking 20s? I mean, you've already failed, by the way.
Yeah, unlucky.
Yeah, unfucking lucky, mate. You've wasted your good pumping years on having boring sex with somebody because it's just not, after 6 months, it's done. You can try and spice things up a little bit, I guess. Now I'm doing the same thing with handcuffs on. Whatever.
We still hate each other.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm still bored as fuck. I'd still do anything for a piece of Strange, even if it was a fucking 5. You know. So it's madness, like these people, and that's the kind I'm getting right now, which is why I saw Thorin tweeted saying, "Oh, you should do more. You speak your brains." They're just not funny. They're just ill. Like these people just have problems. Like they've just got real problems. What is so fucked up with your life that you have to come to somebody and tell them falsely you're not any of the things that you are, and anyway, I'm better than the things that I'm saying you're not. Your life's a joke. Are you all right? Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable in your life, mate? Because I don't feel the need to walk around telling people, "Oh, how much do you earn?"
Yeah.
What do you do for a living, mate? It's not night at the fucking Improv. I don't care. Like, live your life. I'll live mine. But if you come at me and you try and make out that, like, because, like, I'm some sort of fucking failure, like, I had a very set plan about how I wanted to spend my life. And it was not in a bumfuck office job, right? Outside of the corporate system, being able to fucking talk about shit that I like for a living and write about shit that I like for a living and having some small modicum of fame, enough to have an audience that digs what I do. That was it. I had no aspirations beyond that, right? I didn't want to be on television, right? I find it all a little bit weird and embarrassing. I didn't want to make lots of money, right? I'm not interested in any of that shit. It doesn't interest me. I don't want to have kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever your checkboxes for success are, that's great. Have at it. They're not mine. I'm very happy and comfortable where I am. Like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And as a result of that, I don't feel the need to go up to people and go, "What do you do for a living?" LOL. But if you come at me and you say you're a failure, and then it turns out you've got to go to McDonald's and kickstart the fryer at 7 a.m., I might point out just a little bit of fucking hypocrisy about that. And, these are the people. This is what you deal with now. And it's like, where are the funny trolls? Let's make trolling great again. I'd like to do another Speak Your Brains, but it's just guys like that, just 30 tweets into the void. And when, like, they lose the argument or have, like, a tiny little moment of self-awareness, they double down on the bullshit and try and bring other people in to back them up. Like, here's the thing. Let's say, that Michael Tracy fucking responds and says, "Yeah, actually, I think InfoWars is a joke." Do you think he's going to be tweeting at me again 30 or 40 times? Yay. What's going on? Haven't you got some law to practice? Haven't you got some poker to play? Can't you just, like, crack one off and just forget about it? Like, just go jerk off into a sock. Like, whatever you need to do to get right with the world, man. But, like, you're fucked. You're ill. Do you know what I mean? I almost feel bad doing this bit. But I think people need to know, this is what you deal with on a day-to-day basis. This would twist anyone's melon. If anyone wants to know, Total Biscuit fucking blocked all the comments out and occasionally gets agitated, people go, he just can't take criticism. The criticism's fine. Love the criticism. Don't give a fuck. I'll do what I want to do. And I just, occasionally there'll be a good bit of criticism. Like, oh, yeah, I could do that differently. Most of the time, it's, could you make your video shorter? Because I want to have all of the experience of watching one of your shows, but I want it condensed into 10 minutes because that suits me. That's retarded feedback. I'm never going to do that. This is the format. This is how I do my shit, right? So don't make it about you, because this is my stuff. It's like going to a fucking stand-up comedian in the middle of an act and saying, "Can you tell some jokes about dogs? Because I really like dogs." You're going to get told to fuck off, right? It's their show. They do it the way they want. I do my show the way I want, right? That's fine. But here's the thing. The criticism, it's never the criticism. It's that. It's the obsessive mental illness. It's the fucking people who just cannot accept that, I might have different opinions to them. And here's the thing. That guy was probably a fan. This is the scary part. That guy has probably followed all of my shit, right? Like, probably he's clicked on all of my videos, probably read a bunch of articles, probably thought highly of me. Probably he's even thought, hey, I'd like to meet Richard Lewis and have a beer with him or something. I retweeted another guy that mentioned InfoWars, and it's all gone. It's all been dismantled. Imagine that. Like, do you know what I mean? Okay, yeah. William Burroughs is one of my favorite writers of all time. This guy used to shamelessly write about how he went to poor countries and would fuck teenage boys. Right? And there's a line in one of his books. It might be queer, That's the name of the book. I'm not saying the line is queer. The book is called Queer.
What he's doing is definitely queer.
100%. And he sees this little, like, some teenage street kid, like, you just rummaging around in the garbage, and he's going to offer him money to have sex with him. And the guy he's with goes, "Oh, I don't know, Bill. He looks kind of hungry." And he goes, "That's the way I like him." Now, he wrote that. Yeah, he wrote that line. Okay. And that is kind of morally repugnant and repellent. I still like William Burroughs. All right. Like, I still like him. Still think
as a human,
well, not even like it's not like all he did was slam ass. Like, you know, he did other stuff. That's all I'm saying. And it wasn't like, you know, or you don't even know if it's real. It's in a story. I'll assume it's real. He wrote similar shit in diaries and stuff. But Bill Burroughs is one of the most talented writers who ever lived, an all-round talented artist. I read that line, and I didn't think, oh, well, got to burn them books now. Fuck. Just when I started liking you, Bill, you know, and then you had to do the line about Kiki in Tangiers. You know, it's all over. Naked Lunch is one of the best books ever written. So, yeah, it's just lunacy. It's just fucking lunacy. Right. So let's get into the main part of the show. Lunacy. Right. Let's definitely talk about some lunacy. Let's just throw in a little gentle one to ease in. Last show, we ranted and raved, and we talked a lot about fucking safe spaces and, you know, how they're infantilizing students and this kind of thing. This blew my fucking mind when I heard this. It went under the radar. That's why I'm reporting on it now. It's a story that's like almost, it is 3 weeks old. But just I don't know if you saw this, dude. Just look at this. This is the Detroit News. Michigan State, I believe this is. Yeah, Michigan State University. They are banning whiteboards due to bullying. Okay. So they have whiteboards outside of dorm rooms so people can, lectures cancelled or, get milk or, I don't know, normal shit, right? And because people have occasionally, written things on them, which, I'm a juvenile. I don't know how long it would take before I drew a cock and balls with 3 lines coming out of the tip. It'd probably happen, though, right? And it's not to offend anyone or upset anyone. It's just to be funny. It's just cock and balls. Look at them. They're silly, But the University Residential Services said that in any given month, there are several incidents of people writing negative things on these whiteboards. There was no one incident that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Sometimes the things are racial. Sometimes they're sexual in nature. There are all sorts of things that happen. It's a whiteboard. It's a white board. It's a board, you write on it. It's white. You use colored pens. It's not about the implements, But now they've done a university-wide ban on whiteboards on campus in case anybody were to write anything on there that might trigger somebody.
God forbid.
God forbid, right? And here's the thing. When you do that, all the time that it hasn't been a cock and balls or, race war now or Trump, or whatever it is that triggers you this week, you take away the core function of the whiteboard, which is, lecture cancelled, get some milk, won't be back tonight, whatever, right?
Or I think they use it at the start of a university term as well as like a way to get to know people, you know what I mean? Like you can express yourself a little, kind of know who's who when you're walking down a dorm.
Big bag of sticky icky in room 8,
Anyone got beak, room 12.
Yeah. So couldn't believe that. I mean, what are we going to ban fucking next, But here's the real out of control. element that I want to talk about. Journalists are out of fucking control, dude. I talked about it before. I said that, we don't have journalists anymore. We got fucking activists posing as journalists. Well, there have been so many fucking stories ranging from the fucking insane to just the mildly amusing, You can't trust journalists. So I'm going to try and build up, right? I'm going to try and build up. Now, the first one, actually, I didn't put it in this section. So I'm going to just have to quickly find it. Fuck, where was it? It was about how a story got completely fucking twisted around.
You know what site it was on?
Yeah, look, I'll get there. Where was it? Here it is. How a typo tricked the media, right? Like this shows you the level of work that journalists actually put in before they regurgitate stuff in the mainstream media, right? So this is The Spectator. I like The Spectator. They publish solid opinion pieces and they do reporting as well, but generally it's kind of an editorial site. This is their health section. Didn't even really know they had a health section. But this is just unreal. So eggs were on faces yesterday after some astonishingly bad science reporting in sections of the media. In articles that have since been taken offline, The Telegraph and the Daily Mirror announced that half a pint of beer a week is sufficient to harden the arteries and cause heart disease. Now, think about how little half a pint of all the fluids that go through your body, half a pint of beer
a week.
Right? A week. Right?
And in a day, it's nothing.
Right. So they say, given the almost homeopathic quantities of alcohol involved, not to mention the fact that moderate drinking is known to reduce heart disease, this was a rather surprising finding. But it had supposedly been published in the Journal of the American Heart Association and is therefore considered legit. It's a very prestigious medical publication. But alarm bells started ringing when the Telegraph came up with this eyebrow raiser. The UK study defined consistent long-term heavy drinking as equivalent of drinking one serving of alcohol spirit, half a pint of beer, or half a glass of wine per week.
Hardcore.
Long-term heavy drinking. So obviously, the idea that drinking half a pint of beer once every 7 days is long-term heavy drinking, you can see that that's ludicrous. And if that was the study, if I was reading that, even if it was in the journal, I'd be like, nah, this can't be right.
Yeah,
Something's
already
wrong.
know something's wrong.
Yeah, something's not right there, But what had happened was, you can see here, so there was a typo in the actual report. And I'll just, oh God, he really breaks it down here. He's talking about the J curve, skip past that paragraph. So here it is, right? He says, if you're going to rely on reporting science by press release, you must be confident in the press release. Unfortunately for the Fourth Estate, this one was a stinker. So the press release that they put out of the study was just riddled with errors and stuff. And the study's authors defined anyone who drank more than 112 grams of alcohol a week as a heavy drinker. There are 8 grams of alcohol in a unit. Therefore, they were drinking more than 14 units. But when the press release tried to break this down in understandable English, it all went wrong. And you can see it said, consistent long-term heavy drinking was defined in this UK study as more than 112 grams, 3.9 ounces of ethanol per week, roughly equivalent to one serving of alcohol spirit, half a pint of beer, half a glass of wine. Consistent moderate drinking was 1 to 112 grams of ethanol per week. So the first part is true, and so is the last bit. It's the middle bit. 112 grams is by no means roughly equivalent to one serving of alcohol spirit. It's 14 servings. Think about it, 112 grams, 3 fluid ounces. So it's 14 servings, not one. So they just converted it wrong. And then the press just jumped on it and started saying, yeah, it's terrible. It's going to kill you. Like they put common sense away. They put it on the shelf just to keep reporting it. And the Telegraph and the Mirror were unbelievable. I mean, they went ahead. and published just that lie, just the out and out lie. The Sun did it as well. Men who drink 1 pint a day are increasing their risk of having heart disease or a stroke. Right? So they scaled it down, but they still got the discrepancy wrong. And the Daily Mail went with how just 1 pint a day can increase the risk of heart disease by prematurely aging the arteries. So it's just like, have you ever seen in the papers? There's always like every week, eating 1 bacon sandwich a month will increase your risk of heart disease.
How eggs give you cancer.
Yeah, and it's always mad and contradictory as well. Like, I've literally seen, like, 1 month apart, coffee increases risk of cancer, and then the next month, a new study finds coffee cures cancer. Like, it's just, which one is it, right? And the problem is, these aren't scientific publications. They're just looking to fill the space. So they just get a breakdown with no understanding, and half the time, it's like a staff writer who's been told, there's the press release, disseminate it, put it in digestible English, break it down to 250 or 400 words or whatever it is, and let's get it in the paper. And it's got to be done by 12. And in these conditions, this sort of thing's always liable to happen. But again, journalists, the basic thing is check your facts. And they don't do it, There was a typography error in this press release. Typographical error, sorry, in this press release, and they just didn't even think, even though it made no sense, they didn't check the weights, they didn't check the measures, they didn't do anything. So that's like journalism being out of control, kind of, yeah, all right, it's to be expected. We know that they can't, be trusted. What about this? Huffington Post. Man, if you want to talk about a dishonest publication, I think it's amazing that I read on a daily basis. Breitbart, can't be trusted. And obviously, I've worked there, right? And yes, they publish some stuff. I'm like, come on. But the Huffington Post, they are just publishing lies. They're just publishing ridiculous things. Check this out. I couldn't believe this. This doubles up as it didn't happen as well, by the way. So this is, they have a fitness blogger there, like a lifestyle blogger, and she was bragging about how she got second in a half marathon in Florida. Obviously it's her credibility. I run. I'm fit. That's why I'm good for this lifestyle thing. She posed for photos with it. Jane Seo or So is the silent, whatever. Call her Jane. This was the report. Jane blazed across the finish line at last weekend's Fort Lauderdale half marathon with a stellar time of 1 hour and 20 minutes. So a half marathon, 1 hour and 20 minutes. The professional New York food blogger's blistering 6 minutes, 15 seconds per mile pace earned her second place among the thousands who raced. And here she is parading around the finish line while grinning and gripping a gaudy medal. But her pace was too good to be true, and she's now been disqualified. Turned out she cut the course, right? And she was found out because somebody who followed the pace went and looked, and I think you could check, she'd uploaded some sort of fitness thing.
It's either that, or I think maybe she was seen at a point of the race at a certain time, and then they did the maths, and they're like, hang on, you can't get from here to here in that certain time.
Yeah. But basically, they proved that it was physically impossible for it to have ran that distance in that time, and then posted their findings online. And she had to confess that she just lied. She just made it up. Now, she wasn't going to admit it. Here's the thing as well, dude. Right, if I've done something dishonest and I want to get away with it, I do try and not draw that much attention to it. Maybe she had to write about it, okay? Maybe that was her assignment. Maybe the only reason she was running the half marathon in the first place was because the Huffington Post wanted a story about it, right? And run a marathon and write about it. And then, she gets second. So obviously that's got to be in there. Just publishing photos and bragging up, what are you doing? You're lying. What are you doing at this point? How fucked are you? How crazy are you? This is a Huffington Post journalist. So once she'd been exposed and everybody was jumping on the story, and I say everybody, not everybody, because my contention here is, right, let's say, for example, if she was a journalist and she'd lied about cheating on her boyfriend to her boyfriend and it was made public, I don't think that's got anything to do with her job or her ability to do her job. I wouldn't judge her on that, right? This type of dishonesty in print, on your platform, she's no longer fit to do. Once you have inarguably lied in print, that's it. Like you can't be a journalist ever again. Sorry, folks. And I mean maliciously lied. I don't mean got something wrong. I mean maliciously lied. That's it. You're over. You're done. Like you can. That's it. Like you should be fired, and no publication should ever hire you again.
Floodgates are open now. You could lie about anything.
That's just how it works, you know? But anyway, she put this fucking apology out. I made a horrible choice at the Fort Lauderdale Half Marathon on Sunday, Feb 20th. I wasn't feeling well. So immediately, and this is the classic, leftist type apology, make me the victim. I've betrayed people's trust. I've lied in print for status. I have completely compromised my publication. I mean, they'd done that a long time ago, but let's imagine they hadn't. But I'm the victim. I wasn't feeling well, so I cut the course and headed to the finish line. I got swept away in the moment and pretended I ran the entire course when, in fact, I cheated and should have disqualified myself. Even worse, not only did I steal the award from the true well-deserved runners and finishers, but also proceeded to bike the course afterward with my GPS watch to cover my wrongdoings. That was the person who uncovered it. That's how they got in there, I think. As I admit to my foolishness, I'm extremely ashamed. I sincerely obviously means apologize, for bringing negativity out of the running community that I truly admire and respect. I take full credit for this mistake without any excuses and will face the consequences. I am so sorry, everyone. And of course, again, you end it by framing it as a mistake. This isn't a mistake. You did it maliciously. You did it maliciously to improve your credibility in the beat that you work on. You did it for status. You did it for attention. And you lied in print. That is it. You maliciously lied in print. That's game over. None of these things are mistakes. And you even tried to cover it up. So, I mean, once that moment that you've been swept away with is over, why not? Oh, fuck. Well, I better not try and cover it up. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You then went back and maliciously tried to cover it up. Like, this person can never be taken seriously as a journalist again. Journalists are out of fucking control. They're just out of control. So, again, Huffington Post being out of control. Let's go to this one. This is insane. I mean, this, again, we'll go back to the mental illness thing. This is, the Huffington Post, I mean, this is just laughable. So a Huffington Post writer... published an article. This is a white Huffington Post writer. Published an article saying that they no longer identify as white. And I can actually see that there's been an update to this. So fuck that. We'll get the archive because they'll have dialed the insanity down. And once they got called out for it, here we go. So let's go to the archived version. Oh, the archived version has the updated thing in as well. Well, let's see. But anyway, you can use that. So this person says that they're no longer white, and this is why. So I am a white Jew. I'm very white and very Jewish. I went to a white Jewish day school, studied in a white Jewish seminary, and did a very white creative writing degree. My first job came from a white Jewish contact, and I got paid far more than someone with no qualifications deserved. I guess that's that privilege that they talk so much about. And yeah, over the past few years, I can't help but feel that my racial and cultural identity has changed. You see, my boyfriend is mixed race. He has 4 grandparents of 4 different races. And engaging with his racial realities, my eyes have been open to things most white people are oblivious to. I believe it's what they call being woke, Sam. I think he
is woke.
You are woke, mate. I now understand racial issues on a much more personal level. Like, can I just say this? Like, at what point does you're not black, mate. You can't talk about the black experience just because you're having sex with a black guy. That's crazy. Why you think? What are you thinking this for? How's that a thought in your brain? How is that in your mind? Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine going up to one of your black friends and saying, "Hey, because we're mates and that, I kind of get what it's all about, yeah, man."
Can I be black as well?
Yeah.
Kind of like this thing you got going on. Can I join?
Yeah. Can I be in your gang? I can now easily identify my own and others' manifestations of white privilege. He has exposed me to the everyday reality of being singled out because of your race. At first, it came through in conversations about his experiences from childhood onwards and how they differed from mine, but it soon became apparent in our daily lives. So this person literally says, I am not white because I'm having sex with a black man. And he even tries to say, I'm not like that Rachel Dolezal, who literally did just black herself up and try to represent black people in what is the maddest minstrel show I've ever seen. That literally just happened, right? So he says it's easy to call them out. They're easy targets for their naivety. They open their mouths and their obliviousness to white privilege pours out. But this needs to be a more measured discussion. Away from the hysterics of social media racism, South Africa really is advancing as a rainbow nation. The number of coconuts and wiggers, if that's still a word, is only getting bigger. Even I, an undeniably privileged white boy, am unsure of my racial identity. I'll help you with that one. You're fucking white, mate. That's it. You are white. It doesn't matter how many black men you touch with your pee-pee, you are white. You will always be white. You cannot be less white. You are white. Again, you are white. So mentally ill journalists, just lunacy. Hey, Huffington Post, I'm a white guy and I have sex with black men, and now I don't want to be white anymore because of that, because I'm crazy. Will you publish an article by me? Yeah, why not? We publish madder shit than that, mate. So let's knock it up a notch. Again, staying with the Huffington Post, right? The Huffington Post. There was, you know, CPAC, the conservative thing?
Yeah.
Right. Milo was meant to talk there. We all know how that ended. So just look at this, right? There was loads of brouhaha on social media about, oh, look, see, Putin got Trump elected and Trump fans support Russia. And they took photos, all the leftist progressive media took photos of people waving Russian flags. And we're going, see, that's what we voted in. Russia run our country. Again, it's all lies. You know, Russia didn't hack the election. Nonsense. It's complete nonsense. But this is, again, we got to invent a boogeyman. You know, we got to have a scapegoat. All right. So, who was handing out those flags? Who could it be? Well, it's Ryan Clayton, a writer for the Huffington Post. There's a photo of him handing out the Russian flags with Trump on them. So a journalist a writer for the Huffington Post, went to CPAC and handed out flags so they could then take a picture of them and criticize the people for waving those flags. So anyway, they found him doing it, and he got kicked out while he was there. But already the social media and mainstream media leftist machine was already pumping out its bilge, its lies. But here's the thing. The Huffington Post didn't want to get caught doing that. Because you can see, I mean, like, look, you don't need to be a journalist to know this. And Sam, you're definitely not a journalist. But you can see, can't you, where you've crossed the threshold?
Yeah.
Right. I am not writing a story. I am manufacturing a story. This is ethically unsound.
Yeah.
You can see that. I mean, a child could see that, frankly. So the Huffington Post get caught with their pants down. So what do? What would you do at this point? What I would do is I would distance myself from the individual. Okay. I would apologize and just say, his actions were his own. It wasn't part of some editorial mandate, because manufacturing a fake news story would color the publication as being untrustworthy. That's what I would do as an editor. Like, if one of my, and obviously he could never write for the publication again. If he was a staffer, he'd be fired. This is misconduct. He's gone. He would have this is just how it would have to end, right? But no, the Huffington Post didn't do any of those things. The Huffington Post decided to double down and play the immortal internet defense of just a prank, bro. No, really, no joke.
Get trolled, Lamau.
Why we trolled Trump with Russian flags at CPAC. On Friday, we distributed nearly 1,000 Russian flags with Trump's name on them to attendees at the Conservative Political Action Conference near Washington, D.C. As you may have heard, it made quite a stir in the news, and millions of people around the world soon wondered why the party of President Reagan was now worshipping at the altar of Russia's Putin. The reason we trolled Trump with these flags is to draw attention to the Russian interference in our most recent American election, helping to decide the outcome in favor of the Trump campaign. Didn't happen. Working with a foreign power to undermine our free and fair elections is treason. I'm glad you think so highly of it, because during the election cycle, I watched the mainstream media publish lie after lie after lie, the Huffington Post being one of the worst offenders, to influence an election. So were you working with a not foreign power? Is that okay? If you try and undermine a free and fair election, but you're doing it for a candidate in that election and you're based in America, is it all right? I guess that's what you're saying. And then they add, let's be clear, Putin picked Trump because it's good for Russia, not because he's great for America.
Putin didn't pick anyone, but the American population picked them.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's almost as if the only way the left can get right with the rest of the world, the only way they can re-engage with the people who went Trump voters, is if they pretended they were manipulated by Russia. It's like, that's the only way. So they then, and again, there should still be an apology somewhere in here. You are a journalistic outlet. You shouldn't be, you're not a fucking wacky YouTuber doing social experiments with actors. You claim to be a journalistic publication. But no, I mean, just look at some of this nonsense in this. Not an apology to be found. We got caught faking a news story. We simply pretended that was what we were doing all along, and we're going to use that as a jump-off point to just lie. We are confident that all patriotic Americans of goodwill will stand side by side when the evidence comes to light, clearly showing that Trump sold our country down the river for the modern-day equivalent of 30 pieces of silver. Big presumption there, because I'm still waiting on it. You've got Republicans working against Trump. You've got the entire DNC working against Trump. You've got the mainstream media working against Trump. You've got members of the intelligence community working against Trump. This evidence still hasn't turned up. At what point are you going to just stop? Just stop. Right? And here you go. And look, just the last line. This should really let you know what the Huffington Post is all about. The time has come for all Americans across the political spectrum to take action and to resist the Trump regime every day and every step of the way. And it helps to have some fun while we're at it. So get your own flags here, because a resistance without the lulls is not a resistance worth having. What? a resistance without the lulls. What world are you living in, mate? And of course, if you click on the link, it goes to Act Blue, which is an offshoot of Share Blue, which is a probably Soros funded, but I won't commit to that. But certainly, it's a funded organization that is designed to spread anti-Trump information. This isn't a fucking non-partisan site. This is, and they're selling these things. So the Huffington Post got caught faking a news story. They don't apologize. They don't admit that's what they were doing. They then say, we did it as a prank. It was our plan all along. Here's a link to the anti-Trump business where you can buy resist t-shirts and the flags that we got caught handing out. Like, is this a real publication? Do you think any of this is okay? And evidently the Huffington Post does. They actually do. They think that's just another day in the fucking office. They're out of control. These journalists be out of control. But not super out of control. Because the next two, this is the next level. We've had bad reporting. We've had lying in print maliciously for status. We've had manufacturing stories and then shamelessly selling it for profit. Where do we go next? Well, how about this? This will blow your fucking mind. And again, isn't it wild that this isn't front page news anywhere else? If anybody thinks the mainstream media don't collude, don't have a fucking agenda, just imagine, all right, if this guy worked for Breitbart or something. Just have that in your head, people. This is the story that a Washington Post employee impersonated an ICE agent and had guns and just equipment and shit just found at his home in Maryland. So this is a journalist, and he's posing as an immigration and customs enforcement agent. And he also tried to enforce laws. He was just walking around like Judge Dredd. I am the law. He's wearing a bulletproof vest with fake ICE stuff. What is he doing? This is a fucking journalist at the Washington Post. So they found 10 weapons at his house. 7 handguns, 2 M4 assault rifles and a shotgun. They found full body armor and tactical vests. A Baltimore County police badge, a working police radio, and other assorted items belonging to the police. So what's he doing? And he's been at the Washington Post for 2 years. So, I don't even know. Why would somebody who works at the Washington Post want to be impersonating a police officer? I don't know what's going on there. That makes me very curious. That makes me very nervous. And to be clear, this isn't a guy who works on the writing side. I must stress that. I know this is in the journalists are out of control section. He does work for the publication. He handles the computers and everything for everybody else. So what's he doing? Does this point to fake stories? Have they ever used this guy as a plant? Have they ever manufactured a fake arrest to then write? It begs the question, right? Like, what is going on there? What's the agenda? So very fucking surreal. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get fucking worse, this guy's off the fucking chain. This guy wins. This guy is an actual imprint journalist, not just a staff member. You ever heard of Juan Thompson?
No. You right for?
Well, here's the thing, because he was one of those on video guys. Shit, who was the fucking he was at Raw Story. It should say in the pub. Hang on,
Intercept.
Yeah, that's it. The Intercept, right? Now the Intercept is Glenn fucking Greenwald, right?
Yeah.
And again, I think they've done good work. I think at times they've had the Trump derangement syndrome. They've let that inform their work. So Juan Thompson has been arrested in connection with 8 threats, at least, against Jewish centers, Jewish community centers, including some in the New York City area. Now, what's especially mad about this, right, is, the whole story's insane, but those threats that he was making were the direct reason that people started saying there's been a rise in anti-Semitism since Trump got elected. This one guy, like, seriously, he alone made up all of the fucking bomb threats. Like, they're having to investigate them all. There's been 21 bomb threats called in to these Jewish centers and 8 Jewish schools. And it's in Alabama, Delaware, Florida, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Virginia. Been all over the place. Investigators are trying to say that he might be a copycat. And they're saying, there's a wider series of threats that have been made. We don't think he's responsible for them all. We're going to find out. But this, in the New York area, he's the suspect. And in New York, they reported that there'd been a spike in anti-Semitism at the anti-Semitic attacks and incidents, which they included those mysterious swastikas, by the way, that just crop up everywhere all of a sudden after Trump gets elected. And then every time they actually find who did it, it's a leftist. But this guy was like the straw that broke the camel's back. They cited that fucking bomb threat as inarguable proof that anti-Semitism was on the rise. So, but check this out. This is unfucking real. So, apart from the fact that he was complaining that, the Secret Service and the FBI were investigating him, it all comes down to he just lost his mind because of some relationship that broke up. Like, he was stalking his ex and sent, faxes to where she worked and all of this, right? And then he tried to make out she was trying to frame him for the bomb threats. Like, look at this. He tweeted, "Know any good lawyers? I need to stop this nasty racist white girl I dated who sent a bomb threat in my name and wants me to be raped in jail." And here's the full thing that he said 2 years ago after swearing off white women. So, he's racist, right? He's a black supremacist. "I started dating one named Francesca. She seemed like a cool Brooklyn white radical. There were warning signs, though. She didn't tell me she had herpes until after we hooked up. She called me a thug in an approving way because she liked I was wearing J's and balling shorts after the gym. And she called herself Captain Save a Thug, referring to the type of black men she dated. We broke up after someone showed me the light, and since then she stalked and harassed me. She's threatened to have me killed and said she was going to make me a prison statistic and looked forward to me being raped in prison." Francesca, by the way, is the clinical director at a prominent NYC nonprofit. She, though I can't prove it, even sent a bomb threat in my name to a Jewish center, which was odd given her anti-Semitic statements. What? Why would that be odd?
Why is that odd? Yeah, that's what I thought.
All fucking odd. I got a visit from the FBI, so now I'm battling the racist FBI and this vile, evil, racist white woman. I'm afraid. We know what happens when white women use the law to go after black men. So, could this guy actually be more racist, by the way? This guy has absolute contempt for white people. And in that description there, he's just describing what he thinks a racist would do, like what a racist person would say. What somebody who was not racist enough to not date black people, but racist enough to date black people, but look down on them secretly while doing that. And it's a fantasy. I mean, the whole thing, it reads like a fantasy. This is nonsense. Captain Save a Thug. I mean, what woman would call herself that? You know, Captain. Why would she adopt?
Yeah, why would that happen?
Yeah. Hang on a minute. You know, and yeah. So this guy's out to fucking lunch. He's gone. And then it turned out he was making stories up at The Intercept. And they've had to add notes to 5 stories he did, a retraction of an article, because he just made quotes up. And guess what it was about? It was about the white supremacist Dylan Roof. And he said that he spoke to a cousin of the white supremacist Dylan Roof. That's Dylan Roof, the guy, you know, killed all those black churchgoers, right? In Carolina, South Carolina. And guess what? He said Scott Roof, who doesn't exist, this cousin doesn't exist. And he had a quote that said Dylan Roof had done it because he got rejected by a white woman for a black man. So again, just made up this mad black supremacist storyline. Like, here's the thing. Here's what's terrifying about this. If this guy isn't so mental, if he's not so mentally ill, none of this would get revealed. Scott Roof would still be out there. Dylan Roof would still be, his crime would still be falsely attributed to an event that didn't happen. The Intercept would still have false reporting on their website, and the world would turn and no one would bat a fucking eyelid. No one would care, right? And this guy's a journalist, and he's lying about things that, to peddle his agenda. Well, again, it begs the question, doesn't it? How often does that shit happen? How often does that go unnoticed? In a world where journalists are no longer journalists and want to be activists, in a world where journalists can just lie in print and it's up to citizens to police what they're saying, in a world where journalists are encouraged to write absolute mentally ill drivel that, like, hey, I'm white, but I'm not, right? Because I got a black boyfriend. In what world, like, how can journalism be trusted? How it can't, can it? It's, Washington Post employees running around dressed as, what is fucking happening here? Like, this is insanity. And yeah, I can't begin to say, like, how it just disheartens me, because I'm a journalist and I take that super seriously. And it means a lot to me, to be a trusted journalist, or not trusted journalist, because I retweeted someone who mentioned InfoWars once. It means a lot to me. I take it seriously. And now I'm left. I can't even believe my own colleagues. I can't believe my own peer group, because their politics inform everything they do. And again, this guy Juan Thompson, he'll be the tip of the iceberg. I know for a fact there's other journalists out there that are going to be lying and running all sorts of game and just doing shit like this for fucking, because why not, right? There's no more checks and balances anymore. As long as you're anti-Trump, as long as you're anti-establishment, you're always going to have a platform. And no one, again, that should be a front page news story. That should be everywhere. It's not, is it? Like, it doesn't blow up. Meanwhile, every time Donald Trump says something, you can even plant fake stories now, like, super easily, and people will just gobble it up. The leftists will just gobble it up. Did you see what happened with that Trash Dove stuff? Did you see? Right, well, let's get into it just quickly, and then we'll move on to the war for your mind, as InfoWars might say. Right, so this is a fake article. All right, this was like a piece of satire. Right, there was and they've actually taken the offending article out because, right, here's what a trash dove is. All right,
it's the trash Facebook thing.
Yeah, like, right. So again, like, know your meme. Obviously it's the encyclopedia for memes, so we'll go with them. So Trash Dove It's just a Facebook sticker. It's like just a purple dove, right?
Yeah,
It's got big eyes, and you see it in a bunch of situations, that like they might get into. Like it puts its head through a piece of bread, and it says, "I love bread," and it's a crummy day. They make lots of puns about bread because, you throw bread to birds and they eat it, right? Now, that's all it is. It's just a Facebook sticker. So just to show like how this bullshit can spread, again, it emanates from 4chan. What they started doing was they started a campaign to try and convince people that this was racist, just like Pepe. Okay, so they set up a bunch of stuff on Facebook where they had appropriated and subverted the Trash Dove sticker. And you can see one down there where it's like the Iron Eagle, the Nazi Iron Eagle, but above the swastika. And you can see, look, I mean, some of these Facebook pages, Pinochet's dank meme stash, and they wanted to just spread it round. And look, they did. They started just doing what they did with Pepe, which is, you can make anything allegedly racist if you just depict it as racist. So, look, wow, Hitler had the coolest pet pigeon ever, and it's the trash pigeon on Hitler's shoulder. And they also took other memes and put the trash dove in the memes in place, like that boy. Here come that dove, right? And, this is just what happens. Now, linking back to that article, they obviously somebody wrote up, just hilariously, like, this hacker called 4chan and what meme magic is, and here's the trash doves. And you can see here, on February the 11th, the hacker known as 4chan's got his hands on the meme and teamed up with the forces of the alt-right, and they perverted this meme, turning it into a hate symbol. And you can see they cut the face out, but it's got the SS, Nazi uniform on there, and may or may not have been holding a Star of David. And on they go. And, they talk about, how they made make Trash Dove great again, right? And look, it looks like Donald Trump. And it's the trash dove. So, and here's the stuff from the Facebook, which was all fake. And here's a Hitler propaganda poster with the dove in it. And obviously that's been edited now. And then they even talked about, linked it in with, Kek, the god of Kek. And now they're trying to say this is Peck, right? So it's just nonsense, right? So this actually got picked up by the media. Like, there were a few outlets. Pretty sure I saw it on the Daily Dot. Don't have a link to that to hand. Feel free to do it. Here's the Independent. The Independent, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I can be any more. I just don't think there's any more room for disappointment with journalism. Why a purple bird is all over your newsfeed? It involves fascism. I mean, it doesn't. It involves a bunch of people mocking you. And it says, if you're into your conspiracy theories, you won't be alone in assuming any ubiquitous symbol is to do with Nazis, because fascism in the world died 72 years ago and hasn't been heard from since, for sure, right? So, and then look, they talk about how, again, this innocent fowl was corrupted, make America great again. Again, you've got to link Trump to the Nazis. So here you have it. So turns out, yep, that's a Nazi symbol now. That purple bird is a Nazi symbol. BuzzFeed picked it up. They actually ran it saying trolls are trying to trick people into thinking this purple bird Facebook sticker is a secret Nazi symbol, adding this is really, really dumb and confusing. It's interesting, isn't it? When leftist media outlets see 4chan trying to do a prank, it's really dumb and it's really confusing. Huffington Post try and plant a fake news story, and they're a journalistic outlet. Well, that's okay, actually. We're doing it to troll Trump, so it's all good. It's weird, isn't it? The double standards. But yeah, so that's how easy it is to plant stuff. You just pop it on social media, and people just run away with it. And of course, at the end of the day, it's a fucking purple bird. It's not racist. No way is it fucking racist. So here's the other thing I want to talk about. Social media. there's a war on. There's a war for social media, and the left desperately want to win it. They desperately want to win it because it ties in what we've talked about in the past: safe spaces, control. They get the left. People of that persuasion get very upset if they can't control the narrative, the dialogue, if any hostile thoughts enter their domain. And it's leftover. It's that leftover residual. Everything has to be a safe space. When they leave their shitty little universities that have exacerbated their illness, and they go out into the wide world and they have to deal with social media, and they're like, well, fuck it, I want social media to be like my safe space, like I made work my safe space, like I made my home my safe space, like I made my university my safe space. Everything has to be a safe space. And of course, for people that aren't interested in that, people who just want to use social media and get a wide range of opinions, you know, I follow like 5,000 fucking people or something on Twitter. My timeline's an absolute fucking nightmare. You know, some of them are sources on stories, and it's for the purposes of DMing. Some people don't tweet, but, you know, I'm interested in lots of different things to try and keep up with it, right? But, you know, I follow people with a fucking broad spectrum of opinions, and I don't feel unsafe. I follow people who I know are scumbags. I follow people who I would never agree with in a million years about anything. Right? I do follow people who are probably guilty of some of the allegations that get aimed at other Trump supporters. You know, I need to see what's going on and understand it all so I can be informed and talk about it. But that's not enough. That's not enough for the left. So now, across the board, there is this big war for control over social media. So let's just have a look with Twitter. Twitter's the big one doing it right at the moment, and it's always framed as safety. For your safety, right? You're not safe if you're on Twitter. You're not safe because you may see an opinion you don't like, or someone may tweet at you and say something nasty, and that's it. Your safety's been breached. Words as violence. So they did this in February. They said there's been an update on safety. And they said, making Twitter a safer place is our primary focus. And it shouldn't be. Your primary focus should be getting your stock back up because it's plummeting. Your primary focus should be making features people want, like being able to edit tweets rather than have to delete them. Having better curation of tweets. Having an integrated twit longer. Being able to put multimedia in there a lot easier, better curation. These are features that would help people use your platform and would be enjoyable for the vast majority of people who are already on there. But no, safety is the primary focus. We stand for freedom of expression. Never in a million years does Twitter stand for freedom of expression. Never. You stand for lots of things. That isn't one of them. That's a lie. That's a provable lie. We stand for freedom of expression and people being able to see all sides of any topic. Second lie. I mean, we're doing good here, right? That's put in jeopardy when abuse and harassment stifle and silence those voices. It's weird, isn't it? Because it took a concerted push by the right-wing media to get them to ban ISIS accounts, to get them to investigate child sex accounts, to get them to push back against Antifa thugs who were threatening people on Twitter. We've seen what they do on this show when people report racism against white people. They say this doesn't violate community standards. Meanwhile, if you take the word white out and put black in there, you are banned immediately. You know, why is it okay to abuse and harass people of a conservative ilk and not the other way around? We won't tolerate it, and we're launching new efforts to stop it. Oh, Twitter, be still, my beating heart. Tell me about these wonderful efforts. Building on the work we began in November, we're continuing to work on ways to give people more control over what they see on Twitter. Last week, we introduced an improvement to reporting abusive tweets that gives people experiencing targeted harassment more ways to report it. Today, we're announcing 3 changes: stopping the creation of new abusive accounts, bringing forward safer search results, and collapsing potentially abusive or low-quality tweets. That's another thing, by the way, that the left like to do when they censor people. They make it out that it's just low quality. It's just low quality. That was your problem. It wasn't what you were saying, it's how you said it. If you just made it a bit better, if you were just a little bit smarter, like us elitists on the coasts that know better than you, if you could just talk on our level, it'd be fine, but you can't. So it's low quality, and we have to remove it. And you see this in every subreddit, on Reddit, the same argument, low quality posts. Who the fuck are you to determine what is low quality? If people want to see it, you'll soon find out. If they don't, guess what they can do? Fucking ignore it like grown-ups. You don't need to protect me from low-quality interactions. As you've seen at the start of the show, I have lots of fucking low-quality interactions every fucking day. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm not reporting those people. I'm not crying about how I need my safety to be looked after. So this is interesting. Stopping the creation of new abusive accounts. We're taking steps to identify people who have been permanently suspended and stop them from creating new accounts. So if you've been suspended on one account, they don't want you to ever make another account, and they're using tools to identify you. What are those tools? They don't say. How's that going to work? They're not saying. They don't tell you. They are saying they're going to focus on people who make accounts solely to abuse and harass others. I guess, maybe that, yeah, they exist. I'm sure of it. But, what about these tools to identify people? What does that mean? Are you tracking people? If so, how? I want to know, right? Like, that's important. But they'll play the old, we can't say too much about it because then they could evade it. Well, that's a risk I'm willing to take to know what shady shit you're doing under the hood of Twitter. They say we're introducing safer search results. It's no secret that Twitter, if anything trends that they don't like politically, it disappears from the autocomplete. When it was, Hillary's health or Hillary for prison or whatever it is, they take it out. It disappears. This has been measured multiple fucking times. Sargon just did a video on it recently. They'll just pull it. So we've already seen what a safer search result looks like. It says we're also working on safe search results, which remove tweets that contain potentially sensitive content and tweets from blocked and muted accounts from search results. While this type of content will be discoverable if you want to find it, it won't clutter search results any longer. How do I find it if it's not in a search result? Like, what do I have to do? Like, get the fucking Ouija board out?
Guide me to the tweet.
Oh, great spirits from beyond, help me find this tweet. Like, what the fuck am I? The search function is there for that. You're taking it out of the search function. Then the other thing, again, collapsing potentially abusive or low-quality tweets. Our team has also been working on identifying and collapsing potentially abusive and low-quality replies, so the most relevant conversations are brought forward. These tweet replies will still be accessible to those who seek them out. You can expect to see this change rolling out in the coming weeks. So this is just literally, you just don't see low-quality tweets. They're collapsed. And interestingly enough, if you try and embed them, it just says tweet not available. So if I deem them not to be low quality, Twitter can still deem them to be low quality and not show them. Like, awesome. Thanks. You've really enhanced my user experience there, Twitter. But like I say, this is what it starts to look like. So Heat Street have been doing some good work on this, and they have been reporting it. And you can see Twitter is now ghost deleting offensive tweets. And they went through it and proved this. This was, again, reported shortly after all the safety stuff had been announced. And you can see there's a John Sweeney at Super Nerdland had a tweet, and it was just ghost deleted. It wasn't showing for him. Only his account can see it. All other users, even if you link it to them, go to an error page. And they did a video showing it. I don't know if you want to show the video. It's not super interesting.
Let me find it. I'll put it on the background here.
Yeah, it's 1 minute 31. It's not long. He does do a little commentary on it, but yeah, you can just play it in the background while I talk over it if you want. And the funny thing is, here's what was deemed offensive. Just look at the tweet. This about sums up the reaction to Bill Maher talking with Milo Yiannopoulos. Discourse is not the enemy. # not the enemy. I think that would be productive, says Milo to Bill. We should openly discuss issues in a TV format, says Bill Maher. Autistic screeching. And you can see it's somebody woke, wearing a # woke rainbow thing, holding a laptop with a fucking fedora. So the joke here is that there's this group of hardcore progressives that simply will not allow discourse to happen between two, disagreeing groups, two ideologically opposed groups. And what did Twitter do to that? They removed it for being offensive. That's, you can't fucking make this up. And interestingly enough, there was some thought that maybe it got banned because he'd hijacked the hashtag. This is a new thing they're watching out for at Twitter, by the way. I got this on good authority. I've talked to a few people that know how this social media shenanigans works. And apparently it was proposed because hashtags were being auto-deleted and auto-removed. This tech journalist that I know has said that they're watching out because some people have been trying to hijack existing hashtags so they can put their dissenting comments in there. So for example, if the hashtag was #I'm with her, and then people could come in and put, anti-Clinton stuff in there. Well, apparently if you get caught doing that, this might be grounds for a sanction, right? Because you're hijacking something. Like, forget the fact that the hashtag itself is meant to be a curation tool so you can see a debate. But no, and the Not the Enemy was an anti-Trump hashtag, which was specifically talking about journalists and how they're not Trump's enemy, even though they fucking are. And as I think as we've seen today, they're your enemy too. Maybe there's some well-meaning ones left. I do know some. I highlight them where possible. But like I say, the average journalist isn't fit to wear that title. They are activists now. They are activist bloggers. That's it. The art of journalism is dead. So, okay, well, that's pretty extreme. So what next? Well, you can see as well, this is the other Heat Street report that they did. I think I might have got these the wrong way around. Yeah, I did. But this just shows, again, what the safety thing means in action. This is the headline. Twitter's new tool to crack down on politically incorrect language. And what they've started doing is temporarily limiting the account. Right? So check this out. This is the Twitter user Drybones. He used the word retarded in a tweet, and he got limited, temporarily banned for 12 hours. And you can see there, if you look at what it says, hey, what's going on? Creating a safer environment for people to freely express themselves is critical to the Twitter community. So if behavior that may violate the Twitter rules is detected, certain account features become limited. We've detected some potentially abusive behavior from your account, so only your followers can see your activity on Twitter for the amount of time shown below. Your account will be restored to full functionality in. So the people who follow you, they can still see what you're doing. But anybody who retweets it, if they don't follow you, it's about limiting your range, which is what's really interesting about this. If somebody follows you, is it not possible I could still offend them? Is it not possible I could still upset them? Again, I've shown at the top of the show, it turns out people who follow me and like my work can still get mad triggered by things I do, even if it's a harmless retweet. So why should those people have a negative experience? Are you saying they opt in? Are you saying we're all grown-ups? Well, that's a very dangerous thing to say and intimate when your whole purpose for safety is saying that we're not adults and we can't pick and choose. Which one is it? So this tool basically means that you can't spread, you can't grow. It's like they want to limit the cancer. And I've seen 12 hours. I'm pretty sure there's longer ones on there, right? And you can see there's some other examples here of people getting it. And even people using the N-word, even if they're black, they get it. They get the old 12 hours as well. So it's like just putting you in timeout. So again, it's this infantilizing. I mean, that's what's going on here. Then here's the other thing that Twitter are doing. And again, they didn't expressly say this when they announced their changes. This is a report in Wired. It's on the archive there, Sam, if you're looking for it. Twitter and Wired are super happy about it. I mean, this is Wired, like this ideologically compromised publication. Wired are super happy about it. Twitter finally, takes aim at anonymous egg accounts. I thought anonymity was something that you guys all liked. Wasn't that something to be preserved? You know, I thought that, you know, this is what we wanted, people to be anonymous, so they could express their thoughts without any real life reprisals or threats. Seems to me that having an egg account would be the best way to ensure that if I say something you don't like, you can't bully and harass me in real life. Well, apparently, no, eggs are bad because eggs do the harassing. They can never be, you cannot, if you don't want to put your name in a profile, if you don't want to give us that level of insight into who you are, then you're not entitled to an opinion, obviously. You must be a troll. So this is Twitter's vice president of engineering saying, Ed Ho, saying, I mean, that sounds like a fucking joke name, by the way. You know, his brother Eve O, sister, sorry, rather, Evo. Anyway, whatever. Twitter says it has developed algorithms that can detect when an account engages in abusive behavior. So, for instance, look at what constitutes abusive behavior. For instance, if it repeatedly tweets at non-followers.
Why is that harassment?
Do you know what it says? If you go to Twitter now and you log out of your account, if you've got one, or if you don't have one, click on a tweet and then click reply. And you know what it comes up with? It says you will be able to reply to anyone if you sign up to Twitter today, and it takes you through to the sign up page. Well, you obviously can't, because if you repeatedly tweet to non-followers, that's abusive behavior. Now, here's the thing. I understand how it could be irritating behavior. I've had lots of people do it to me, for example. Please, will you retweet this? Please, will you retweet this? Over and over and over again. Or just little jibes and insults over and over and over again. But I've got tools. I can just mute them. I can just block them. It's game over at that point. I never have to hear from them again. Why would you want to do the limitation at their end? Why would you want to censor them at their end? I can censor them as I choose. You have empowered me to do that. You do not need to step in and be Big Daddy for me. And it says the company will start to limit the reach of tweets from flagged accounts. So I'm on Twitter. Yeah, woo. Going to tweet at some people, get their attention so they can follow me. It's going to tell some celebrities I'm big fans of theirs, and I really love their work, and you know, and I'm going to tell them that every day because I love them so much, and I want them to know. I have engaged in abusive behavior somehow. Now my account is flagged, and now nobody can see my tweets anymore. How do I interact? How do I grow on this platform? Like, they're so hooked on this idea of what they call abuse. Again, let's call it what it is. Controlling the narrative, controlling the conversation, protecting these infants that can't deal with it. They don't even think about, what if I don't care about your little fucking culture war? What if I don't care about your bullshit, Twitter? What if I just don't give a fuck? What if I'm not interested in the fact that you hate Trump and you think he's racist and you think people who vote for Trump are racist and you think conservatives are evil? What if I don't care about any of this bullshit, this little war that's going on your platform, and I just want to tweet at people that I like, i.e. the vast majority of your user base? These things do not benefit me in any way. The only people that this benefits are triggered leftists, which cannot be the bulk of your platform. It cannot be. You just can't be. So you're targeting new users and trying to head them off because they might be abusive. And if they do things that are just normal things to do on Twitter, you'd rather block a new user and make them have a lousy experience than risk that one of your little triggered fucking retard assholes who write to you and go, Jack, this is not okay. This is far from okay. This is definitely not okay. I'm literally shaking. You're going to knee-jerk and look after those busybodies and losers, and you're going to isolate new users on your site and make them feel like shit and not having a good Twitter experience. And also, by the way, only if they don't want to upload an avatar and tell you who they are. Just because they don't want to pimp out their profile. And, these people think they're running a business. They honestly think, they probably look at their stock plummeting and they're like, bloody hell, Breitbart and all of these right-wing publications that keep writing negative stories about us. It's you. You're not even thinking straight. You fucking lost it. You've gone. Again, you've lost your mind. You are punishing new users on your site, doing things that new users should want to do. That should be your initial first interactions with Twitter. That should be the very first thing. And you are punishing them for doing it to satisfy concern trolls. This is why your business is going to tank. The war on eggs. Think about that. Then, it doesn't end there, Sam. This is just fucking Twitter, dude. It doesn't even end there. They have now introduced something that I noticed, and again, we'll take this report from Mashable, right? I saw this the other day and I was like, wow, what the fuck is this? They've started marking whole profiles as sensitive. And here's the madness, right? This is what I mean. There's got to be a committee of like retards, like just SJW retards that are picking this out because it makes no sense. Mashable, the first account they notice is Justin Warren. He's a technology analyst. There's no sensitive content on his Twitter at all. And look, caution, this profile may include potentially sensitive content. You're seeing this warning. This is what a block looks like, by the way. Have you ever blocked anyone?
Yeah, it looks the same.
It's exactly the same, isn't it? Just the warning's different. So this is like people they deem to be, wrong think, they are now pre-blocking you. I mean, that's all this is. This is a pre-block. Sensitive content. Click a button to be able to see these tweets. And you will notice what's strange about this is they're doing it even if you follow them. Even if you follow them, you get that warning. But that contradicts what you were doing earlier. They are all over the fucking place, mate. They don't know what to do. They just want the fucking screeching to stop. Like, ee, ree! They just want those safe space retards to shut up. That's all they're doing. And they're just doing whatever it takes now. Twitter have given up, mate. And they are trying to make out that there's still a place for free speech and they still welcome. Just, you're out of your fucking mind. There's no argument you could conceivably make that is true based on this evidence. So that's Twitter, right? Where do we go next? Well, I've noticed BuzzFeed, and in particular, there's a guy, you may have heard of him, Joe Bernstein. I mean, you can click on that tweet because you can see his face on his Twitter profile. It's not a very flattering picture. Far be it from me to intimate some stuff from that. But they get so scared, right, about platforms that will not censor people that they have to pretend the platforms that don't censor people are bad and insidious. And they try and create this swirling maelstrom. So Joe Bernstein at BuzzFeed is doing this serially. He wants, because he knows he's on that progressive side, right? So he's always going to have a platform. He'll always have a Twitter. He'll always have whatever he wants. He'll always have a Facebook page. He'll always have a Reddit account, right? He plays the game. He's one of these drooling lunatics. So what we've started to do, people who are like, I'm just sick of this shit, we've started using other things, right? Because that's the way to communicate. I have my own Discord. Shout out to all the Discord homies. I think we got like 300 plus on there. And you'll notice we're using stories that you guys have found. They're doing investigation for me. I think what happened with Shia LaBeouf's flag might end the show on that. Shows that citizen journalism is alive and well. There's talented people out there. And, they know. If they want to interact with me, maybe Twitter's not a good place to do it anymore. They know that they'll never see me on Reddit anymore. So what do? We go on to new platforms. So these people attack those platforms. And then they try and pretend that it's not about control and controlling the message and controlling the narrative. Look at this. Joseph Bernstein. A thriving chat startup braces for the alt-right. Discord is a buzzed about group chat platform for gamers. And like its predecessors, Twitter and Reddit, right, which they completely own, the left completely owns. And you'll see every progressive still talk about how they have a problem with Nazis. Is there anyone left to ban? Can we do any more? But it's saying it's become a hangout for trolls and white nationalists. So they're trying to hit. When you write an article like this is a hit piece. What you're doing is, look, it even talks about the investment, $20 million of funding. Here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stop any other investors. They don't want it to succeed. They don't want it to succeed because people like me and you use it. They want it to fail, and they'll lie to make it fail. The idea that Discord is racist is absurd. It's a piece of software. The idea that it's infested with neo-Nazis is absurd. Here's who it's infested with. People who are just sick of being censored on every other fucking platform. You can't push somebody into a room and then go, everyone in that room's racist. You push me off there. I'm not allowed to be anywhere else. So this is what they do. And again, read this article. It's unbelievable. He picks out a few choice Discord servers. And again, this idea that 4chan are like white supremacists, it's nonsense. They found one here, Thunderdome, which has staff and fans of the Daily Stormer. Yeah, you can't stop these people using what is effectively a white label solution to what they need. Is Slack, which I know every left progressive publication has a Slack, and I'm telling you, by the way, Slack got hacked, and I can't wait for the Slack chats to start coming out of places like the Huffington Post and BuzzFeed. Please, Lord, please. I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see the shit that these people say. But anyway, is Slack racist? Oh, but that's different. We use that for our jobs. Right. What if I showed you a white supremacist Slack? Yeah, but it's nonsense. You can't. The platform itself cannot be racist, and racists using that platform will never make the platform racist. It's a platform. So he went after Discord, right? Here's how you know this cunt's got a fucking axe to grind. He doesn't just leave it there. Look at him going after YouTube. How YouTube serves as the content engine of the internet's dark side. Fucking YouTube! The dark side of the internet is YouTube, is it? What is this? Right? It's got children's entertainers on there, for fuck's sake. Right? Like, PewDiePie's... Oh, I forget, he's an anti-Semite now. Yeah. The dark side, right? What is this sustained attack? Just because YouTube will not take a hard line, and everybody knows that YouTube is getting worse, and they've got YouTube heroes. This is what they do. This is what the leftist media do. You do something, it's never good enough. Do it again, or we're going to keep coming at you. We're going to keep calling you a racist. We're going to discourage investment or venture capital buyouts. We're going to keep coming for you until you just repent and cry and say, I'm so sorry, I'm so racist. What do I have to do to get right with you? And then they're going to move on to the other target. And here's what happens. You go bust because you have isolated the vast majority of your users to placate this handful of idiots. Businesses have got to stop doing this. These people are not your audience. They're not your users. They don't represent your investors. They are a lunatic fringe that just so happen to control the media. That is it. That is all they're doing, right? But no, YouTube is the dark side of the internet. You know why? Because David Seaman, right? Now I'm going to tell you about David Seaman. A lot of people said to me, hey, Richard, and I don't know why they'd ask me this, Richard, when are you going to do something on Pizzagate? Think about the madness of that, Sam. Think about what we do think about what this show is, right? Yeah, when are you going to dig into Pizzagate? Well, yeah, I think fictitious child sex trafficking rings, not really a content area I want to go into.
Yeah.
Now, yeah. When times get hard. Now, here's what happened with David Seaman, right? You might remember, I think we did cover it. David Seaman got fired from the Huffington Post because what he'd done is he had written an article about whether or not Hillary might be ill, and he linked to a Paul Joseph Watson video embedded in his article and published it here to prove. And the Huffington Post editors didn't like that because you're using what they consider left traffic, pure traffic. You're linking to people they consider persona non grata. Paul Joseph Watson, they'll say he's a white supremacist, they'll say he's a racist. I mean, he's none of those things. That's what they do, right? And David Seaman didn't know that and thought it would be okay in a discussion about whether or not Hillary was ill or not, right? And again, look, she collapsed that one time. There was definitely something going on there. But all these people saying she had Parkinson's and stuff were doing so with no fucking foundation or basis whatsoever. It was nonsense. Right. So David Seaman didn't just get fired by the Huffington Post. Okay. He turned into work one day, went to log in, and was banned. And his articles had gone. He disappeared. And nobody had communicated anything with him formally. Now, David Seaman had about 3,000 Twitter followers back then, and he wanted to be somebody, He wanted to be a journalist. And he was writing at the Huffington Post, so clearly he wasn't like a fucking right-winger or anything. This created in his mind a psychological break. He snapped. I mean, he's deleted them all now, but I watched his Twitter feed for days afterwards. And he was saying, Hillary Clinton is coming for me, and she's evil, and I now see how it's all one big mainstream media controlled machine. And at first I thought he'd just been red pilled. Then he just went off into fantasy. He thought the CIA were coming after him. All these people were after him. His PayPal got suspended for like his YouTube videos and stuff, and he was saying it was like a CIA plot. He would regularly tweet like, I can't sleep, I think they're coming for me, I think I'm being followed. Like he'd gone, his box had gone. He'd fallen into that rabbit hole of delusional paranoia. And then the Pizzagate thing started breaking, and this is all he's talked about. For him, it represents a personal victory. If he can prove Pizzagate is real, if he can drive a force to investigate this child sex trafficking ring, which probably doesn't exist because there's no evidence really to suggest it does, just a bunch of weird coincidences. I mean, that's where we're at, effectively, with Pizzagate. That's all there is to it. And, look, I'm not saying you can't have child sex trafficking, like, among the elites. Again, we talk very often about Jimmy fucking Savile, right? Like, and it's happened, with royalty in the past and politicians in the past. These things definitely do happen. I'm not naive. I'm not saying it doesn't go on. It goes on. But the evidence doesn't, it's a hell of a leap, all right? So, anyway, he realized that would be a personal victory for him. He'll never get his job back. He'll never be able to swim in leftist circles again. So here's what he does. He doubles down on Pizzagate, and he starts tweeting about it every day. And he's got followers. People want to believe Pizzagate's real in a way, which is kind of perverse. They want to believe it's real because then it proves that, these liberals, elitists, the government, they're not just corrupt, they're evil. I mean, evil in the worst way. And it's, all that vitriol that you have for them, it's all justified now. So there's a large part of people who want to believe. Some of them are right wing, some of them are left wing even. People just want to believe this fucked up story, which would be one of the worst things ever if it was real. And that's all he says. He wakes up every day and he sits down at Twitter and he tweets like variations of the same few things. he says Pizzagate is real. Right? That's his big one. He loves that. Pizzagate is real. He calls John Podesta the molester, which is good rhyme.
Gotti,
if he was a rapper, right? That'd be straight fire, right? And the other thing he says is like, God give me strength to keep reporting the truth. Now, he doesn't report anything at all. He doesn't show any new evidence. He just keeps talking about how Pizzagate's going to dominate 2017. The research is all played out. If Pizzagate was real, you're never going to be able to prove it now. The leaks have happened. It's all shut it down. It's all over. So it's moot at this point, right? But I think there's a talk on like the 25th of this month where he's like going to be at, and it's like investigate Pizzagate, Pedogate or something, right? And this is all he does every day. He's just had a psychotic break. Again, he's just ill. He's just a disturbed individual who lost his job, lost it in unfortunate circumstances, and his only outlet is just shouting into the void about some fictitious conspiracy theory. Now, does that mean he should be censored? No, it doesn't. I think if John Podesta has an issue with being called a pedophile and a child sex trafficker, which I would, if someone was saying that about me, I think he should lawyer up and get him to, he'll have to stop, issue a retraction, issue a formal apology. Should he not be allowed to make YouTube videos about this one conspiracy theory? Well, why would this one be the one that's forbidden? Why would this be the step too far? Why is it okay to make videos about why the moon landing was faked, or the Kennedy assassination, right, which has wide-reaching implications, or or which celebrities were murdered, or how Tupac's still alive, right? Like, why are they all okay, but this one isn't? Right? So I don't think he should be censored. But according to piece of shit Joseph Bernstein, he should be. And he's using David Seaman's unfortunate mental state as a whole leap-off point to say YouTube is actually infested with racists and lunatics. And of course, that's not true. The vast majority of YouTube is just shit content made by no-namers that you're never even going to see. Like, that's the vast majority of it. And then you've got big YouTubers, and then you've got, mid-tier YouTubers. And yeah, you've got like a skeptic community, right? People who who Joseph Bernstein refers to as political correctness watchdogs, like Sargon. But he's saying, there's Nazis on there, right? Now, I've seen videos that say like the Holocaust isn't real and stuff like that. And again, I don't think Holocaust denial should be a crime in and of itself. If you're using it to incite hatred against the Jews, yes. If you're just saying, I don't think the Holocaust happened based on historical evidence, I don't think you should go to prison for that. I think you're wrong. I think you're an idiot, but I don't think you should go to jail for it. I just don't. And I can't get worked up enough about the issue to even have the debate. If you think somebody denying a historical fact is enough to go to jail, we got problems, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be putting people in jail all the time. And I don't know why that one historical event has to be the one that everyone doubles down on and says, you've got to go to jail for that one. What if I say the Rwandan, or the Armenian genocide, they didn't happen? Do I go to jail? Oh, no, I don't. Well, isn't the argument you're using that it could be used to stir up hate against another group, so it's wrong to deny it? Doesn't that still stand true? Well, apparently it doesn't stand true. It's only this one genocide that you can go to prison for saying isn't real. That's insane. That's crazy. That's not what people should be going to jail for in a civilized society, in my opinion. But, Bernstein's coming after YouTube now. And he's talking about like all these people on there. He wants to go after InfoWars, like our friend at the start. It's crazy. And they'll pressure YouTube. Now, YouTube has become a way more fucking progressive platform. Again, this is inarguable. And then, of course, we've got the granddaddies of it all. Facebook. Right? Now, did you see Mark Zuckerberg did a manifesto?
No.
Yeah, he did a manifesto, mate. And I think it was like 6,000 words.
Nice.
And if I remember rightly, yeah, this is the story on Mashable. So he did this like 6,000 word manifesto about the future of Facebook. And he talked about, how the same old shit that these fucking delusional leftists all believe in, that they've got a responsibility to make people better and help interactivity. But they don't, honestly, we don't believe in censorship or anything like that. But in it, he talked a bit about terrorism, right, which I think is really interesting because we know terrorists do use social media more and more. And it's this balance, isn't it? We're all aghast at the CIA and the NSA and the Patriot Act, which gives rights to spy on you on what should be private exchanges. But equally, if you ever ask somebody, what if hacking into someone's private messages stopped a terrorist attack? They'd all be like universally, well, yeah, fuck yeah, violate his privacy. Problem is, until you violate someone's privacy, you don't know what they're guilty of. Once you get on that slippery slope, I mean, it's, again, you got problems. Now, in this fucking manifesto that Zuckerberg talked about when he was talking about the terrorists, he said here, right now, we're starting to explore ways to use artificial intelligence to tell the difference between news stories about terrorism and actual terrorist propaganda so we can quickly remove anyone trying to use our services to recruit for a terrorist organization. And that sounds, fairly straightforward. But that isn't what he originally wrote. What he said is in an earlier version, he said, the long-term promise of artificial intelligence is that in addition to identifying risks more quickly and accurately than would have already happened, it may also identify risks that nobody would have flagged at all, including terrorists planning attacks using private channels. And then people bullying someone too afraid to report it themselves and other issues, both local and global. He's talking about monitoring private messages there. And what makes it worse is he took that line out and just didn't say anything about it.
Send it to the newsies first as well. I'll just change it, actually. BG on that one. Yeah. Sure it won't come out.
So, and what's interesting about it as well is when he talks about that algorithm, right, about how like he wants to tell the difference between news about terrorism and terrorist propaganda used to recruit terrorists. It's interesting, isn't it? Because that all sounds a lot like this fake news nonsense that's going on. And I'll refer you here to The Verge. Look, Facebook have been out of fucking control. We all know Zuckerberg's agreed to like help. What is it? Fucking, if anyone says anything bad about immigration, don't worry, we'll ban that in Germany, Miss Merkel. We all know Zuckerberg did that, right? He's working with heads of state to censor people. Why isn't this worrying anybody? Is anyone, hands up if you're worried right now? I mean, again, whenever I bring this up and I try and get people a little bit rattled about it, what they say is they go, I don't even use Facebook anyway. Yeah, I bet you kind of do, though. I bet you've got an account there, and I bet you log on, and I bet you check things in your feed, and I bet when you're really, really bored and you browsed everything else, and you sat there on the shitter, you think, fuck it, I'll go through my Facebook feed. And you will, whatever you want to say about that, no matter how minuscule that might be, it's going to influence the way you think about life. That's what these things do. That's what these platforms do. So here we have it. In France, right, they have launched a crackdown on fake news on France's Facebook. How interesting it is that this is ahead of the elections. They are trying to influence presidential elections. And we all know what's going on out there with Le Pen, and people are wondering if the populist movement is going to take off and, she's going to win public opinion. But you can see here, look, listen to this, because they've already done it in Germany and they've already done it in the US. They had to do it in the US. The DNC, and we know there's members of the DNC that directly fund Facebook, and there's all sorts of financial ties there. Silicon Valley is another element of, these technocrats, if you like, that are, very, very left-leaning. They had to do it because, they were being told, you've helped get Trump elected. You're helping Trump get elected by allowing Breitbart on there or whatever, You've got to stop this. So now it's happening in France, this time ahead of an election. And it's interesting, isn't it? That they would, the timing. And it says here, under the system, if an article is reported as false by users, It will be sent to a portal that all 8 media companies have access to, according to the French publication Le Monde. If at least 2 of the companies confirm the article as false, with the links to support their claims, the content will be flagged as disputed in Facebook's newsfeed, and users will see a warning before they share it. Advertising against the article will also be blocked. So, what happens there is, right, users see something that they don't like, right, or challenges their view. It doesn't necessarily have to be fake. It's like saying, do you use the Reddit upvote or downvote to show disapproval, or do you use it because whether or not what that person said is part of the debate? Everybody downvotes people if they think they're being retarded. You just, fuck off. Have a downvote, you cunt. And you move on, right? Nobody uses it for what it was intended. And this is exactly what this is going to be like. People are going to flag it, and they're going to say this article, it's false. It's got to be false. It's got to be. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck Make America Great Again. That's racist. Yeah. And it gets flagged. And then what it does is it then goes through to the media companies, who are all going to be of a very similar bend. This is the Agence France Presse, that's the AFP, BFM TV, France Info, France Médias Monde, L'Express Libération, and 20 Minutes. And only 2 of them have to say, yeah, that's fake as fuck, and it gets removed. I mean, think about that. You're serving up information, reports from other sources to the 8 media companies that control all French output before an election, and just saying whether that only 2 of them have to agree that something's fake and provide evidence, wink, wink, more like Mr. Zuckerberg, look at these fabulous checks that we gave you, huh? Right? And then it gets removed. So at a crucial time in an election, with a country's democratic future in the balance, you're going to ban external sources of information from maybe independent reporters, from respected blogs, anything like that. And the people who are going to get to choose it are the mainstream media within France. What the fuck is that? What is that? What is that system? What mad, demented, Orwellian shit is that? I can't even believe that is real. I can't believe there isn't like some legal pushback. It's crazy. Like, look, just to show you the kind of stuff that'll get blocked, on Facebook. Now, again, whatever you think about Russian Times, right? It's not that bad. I mean, yeah, it's Russian Times. The clue's in the name. But they've done some reports that are good. They've picked up stories that other people haven't picked up on. They've published, very solid reportage. It's not like it's a completely compromised source. Like, you got to work very hard to make an entire publication completely compromised and not worth reading. I would say that would have to be the deliberate intention of the publication. But during the Trump, kind of build up to his inauguration, Facebook banned Russian Times' ability to post live streams, images, or videos. Why would you do that? What is the purpose? Who does that serve? And all they could post was text. I can't understand, again, why people, and this is the thing, people just say, it's only Russian Times. I don't really read Russian Times, or I don't really trust Russian Times. But, just to be clear, it's not like Facebook doesn't have really deep problems. I mean, again, I'm sure it's a failing platform. I'm sure we're going to get a new wave of stuff that's coming out, and then the censorship wars are going to begin again. But just check this story out that was in the Charlotte Observer. This is like Facebook are trying to influence the outcome of elections towards liberal candidates. They are doing this. Again, it's not made up. That's not conspiracy. That is provably fact. And yet the problems that a platform like Facebook brings, like, oh, I don't know, child porn, something we can all agree is fucking foul and depraved and needs to be stamped out. Check this. Facebook reports journalists to police for flagging possible child porn on Facebook. Right?
That's a beaut.
So the BBC...
Down with that.
What's that?
Said I'm down with that headline.
Yeah. Unreal, isn't it? So the BBC were doing an investigation into suspected child pornography on the site. And Facebook asked them to send them samples of the images. So the BBC did. They complied. And then Facebook reported them to the police for doing that. So the BBC, which was following up on a past investigation of child exploitation on a social networking site, because let's be clear, this is how the modern paedophile works. You know, like with private social networks and stuff, because of privacy laws, obviously you can exchange images and whatever fucked up shit to each other, but also as well, you've got direct access. You can create a little profile, a little fake profile, and you can go talk to kids directly. You can interact with them in real time. So this is a hotbed of that kind of thing. Now, I'm not saying it exists and it's like, you know, I'm not saying there's a need for like media hysteria. It doesn't exist everywhere, right? But the modern, you know, pederast, this is the methods they use, right? So other troubling content on Facebook included pages explicitly for men with a sexual interest in children, or groups for stolen images of real children, and one apparent screenshot of a video with an explicit request for the full child pornography clip. So the BBC journalists flagged those images as inappropriate through the platform to see what the site moderation policy would do. But more than 80% of reported child porn remained on the site because Facebook said it didn't violate community standards. Now, I guarantee you, if this was a guy in a MAGA hat, you know, fucking saying Milo did nothing wrong, it's down, like it's gone. Yet you report child porn that doesn't violate community standards. And, you know, they're probably going to try and explain it away as an algorithm. You got to worry, don't you? You got to fucking worry about whether or not this is a person that's looked at that. Because if what's the point of reporting it if it's just going to get another machine to look at it? When the BBC sent the examples, Facebook reported its journalists to the United Kingdom's National Crime Agency instead. It is against the law for anyone to distribute images of child exploitation, Facebook said in a statement sent to the BBC. When the BBC sent us images that we requested, we followed our industry standard practice and reported them to the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre in the United Kingdom. We also reported the child exploitation images that have been shared on our own platform. This matter is now in the hands of the authorities. Facebook also said that it had carefully reviewed the content referred to us and have now removed all the items that were illegal or against our standards. Right. And then, I mean, as if they need to add this, right? Images and videos of children being physically abused or sexually exploited are against Facebook policies. Obviously. Like, why do you need to say that? Like, what mad legal loophole? Like, if that wasn't there, would pedophiles be in court right now going, it didn't say, and the judges got you there. So yeah, madness. So there you go. Facebook, they'll stop Russian Times from releasing information. Not pedophiles, though. Not pedophiles. Because why would you do that? Why would you do that? So anyway, okay. That's the war, the social media war. I was going to end with something. I was going to end with something funny, wasn't I? What was it? Don't know. You've just been zoned out this entire show, mate.
No. I was remembering because
you've just come down.
There was part that we were going to show the end, but we already showed it.
No, I think it is a couple of things just to cheer people up before we went away. I don't know if you saw this. Okay, so this was a new way to beat Trump. All right. Obviously, we all want to do that. Trump's evil. Trump's Hitler, etc. So this was a new way to beat Trump that was reported. This is Lana Del Rey wanted to get witches to hex Trump. Not bad. So you can see here the stroke
scale.
At the stroke of midnight, stroke being the operative word, on February the 24th, March 26th, April 24th, and March 23, they wanted to make this witch's brew. It's a hex specifically, and she's encouraging everybody, witches all around the world, to make it. And that way, you put a hex on Donald Trump. I don't know what the hex will do, but that's again just leftist witches there. But yeah, this was it actually. I think it was the didn't happen I wanted to do. Let me just find it. Okay, so we've talked a lot in this about journalists and how they lie and how they can't be trusted. This got posted on our Discord. This is unreal. You know, I've read some mad things over the course of this election and over the course of the Trump administration. And, you know, you can tell a lie. By now, I've got a real good nose for it. In journalism, when you're a good journalist, a well-meaning journalist, you know, and if you've ever edited work specifically, you know when a quote has been altered to fit something. It's too perfect. It's too clean. And real people don't talk like that. Real people don't come up with sound bites very often. And if an exchange just feels like it just proves the point too well, I think you're well entitled as an editor to ask that journalist, can I see your notes? Can I hear your recording? Because I doubt the veracity of that quote. Well, let's just have a look at this one. This is from Esquire. And this is dispatches from Saturday night at a Trump rally by Jeb Lund. And this reeks of lies. He talks about, being at meeting up at a Trump rally. I mean, first of all, he introduces someone called Whitey Taylor, and he says, "It's not Blackie, it's Whitey." I mean, he didn't say that, did he? If you were called Whitey, what world do you live in where you would introduce yourself? It's not Blackie. I'm not a Blackie because you get it. I hate black people because I'm a Trump supporter. Okay, right. So doubt's already sown in the article. Then he also says that Whitey Taylor turns around to him and said, "I got a 9mm. I don't worry about any of these people." All right, he's a gun-toting redneck, is he? Really?
This isn't just a bad stereotype you've written from your mind.
So it goes right down. Anyway, that's not the point. And again, it ticks all the boxes, but just check this out for it's the very last paragraph, I think. Just look at this, right? So he's talking about a young Muslim girl who's in a hijab, right, at this Trump rally. And she was from Orlando and had protested for a while. She was there for the Occupy movement. And she said, or rather he reports, she conceded she wasn't prepared for the reception she got in that afternoon, one that darkened as the day faded and made her want to withhold her name for fear the night would stretch on forever online. So this person that you've quoted, this incredible, fantastical quote I'm about to read you, mysteriously is like, "Oh, I don't want to give my name. And I'm a Muslim in a hijab at a Trump rally." So she's obviously, if Trump people are all fucking mad, degenerate racists, then she's pretty fucking brave, right? Yeah, must be. So but no, didn't want to give her name because she'd get harassed online. Okay. During the speech, she stood among the Trump supporters who watched on the big screen and listened through the loudspeaker, and I'm guessing didn't get harassed. After she moved together with the block of protesters who converged to greet the Trump supporters leaving the speech, her head covering was noticeable even in the crowd. Later that night, she texted me a video of people walking in parallel to her, yelling just a few blocks away outside Kaiser University. She said they'd followed her from the rally, and their clothes and conversation suggest as much. The people look familiar in the same way that a composite does, in that way that all white people yelling racist things have a sneer that verges on archetype. "Leave," a woman shouted on the video, flipping her off. "You don't like America? Get the fuck out. You're a disgrace to America," the man walking next to her said. They mocked her camera. "You can jack off to that later. I got a big old white American redneck dick. The woman in the hijab told him where to stick it. I can put it up your little tight ass, he counted, and I won't be hitting that clit because it already got removed. Didn't happen.
Also, does this guy know where the clit is? But, like, obviously he won't be hitting the clit if it's in her ass. I think this guy needs help as well, man.
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, obviously not.
He says that's on a video. Where is it then?
Nah. Don't want it.
Is it to protect her identity? Blur it out. Where's the video, dude? Like, I want to hear that. I want to hear somebody shout those exact words at somebody wearing a hijab at a Trump rally. Like, let's do it. Let's see it. Let's see if that's real. Because you're living in fucking La La Land. Did you see the Joey Salads video?
No.
All right, well, there you go. Let's get a DMCA takedown on this overly long podcast. Right, check this out. All right, so, like, in case you hadn't noticed, Joey Salads' agenda's starting to show a little bit. Joey Salads is a fucking retard, and his videos are garbage, and most of them are fake. But I just thought this was interesting. So what he did was he went to a Trump rally, right, dressed as a Nazi. Okay, yeah, big swastika on there, right?
All right.
And the point he was trying to prove was that if everyone's a Nazi who supports Trump, then they'll just welcome me and say it's okay. And what happens on the video is, obviously, all the Trump supporters who were there are like, you do not speak for us. You do not represent us. We don't want to be seen with you. Please get the fuck away. Because he's ostensibly a Nazi. And obviously, Trump supporters aren't Nazis as a rule, So you can just play it, like you just play the first minute or something. I just thought it was interesting that, again, whenever I hear about these like reports about like this mad fucking racism that goes on at Trump rallies, and it's never captured, it's never filmed, it's never recorded, it's always secondhand testimony. And then when you see an actual person dressed as a Nazi go to a Trump rally, they get fucked over, they get told to fuck off. And it's actually interesting the way they frame it, which you'll hear in a sec. Is I think they even say to him, "We can't stop what you're doing, but we don't want you to do it here. Could you please leave us alone? Could you please go away?" So they even respect, like talk about the difference between the left and the right. They even respect this guy who's being deliberately provocative in a Nazi uniform. They're even respecting his First Amendment rights. So yeah, just you can spin the wheel and then we can close the show.
What's up, guys? Joey Salads here, and the mainstream media and the left are promoting this narrative that all Trump supporters are Nazis. So what I'm gonna do is go to a Trump rally with a Nazi armband and see if they join in with me with Nazi salutes. If the mainstream media is correct, then they'll join in. Let's see what happens. We're gonna hail Hitler today?
No.
This is a Trump rally.
It doesn't matter.
Aren't we all Nazis?
No.
CNN told me we are.
Why are you watching CNN?
The mainstream media. I thought we were all Nazis, so shouldn't we all salute? No? He's not. I thought he was Hitler, so I thought it was only
No
fitting.
Hitler, no racism.
Oh, all right. Wow, that's depressing. Hail to the Nazis today?
Hail to the Nazis.
Yeah, hail Hitler. This is a Trump rally, right? No? Well, what about the liberals? They said we're all Nazis. We're supporting Trump. So why aren't we hailing Hitler right now? We're all Nazis. We're gonna.
No hail Hitler.
Well, the leftists, they said that we're Nazis. So why aren't we hailing Hitler?
So there you go. It turns out you can't even bait Trump supporters into supporting a Nazi. And God knows the fucking journalists out there try with the Russian flags and other stuff like this. It's just, everything points to like where the reality is, but people just don't want to engage with it. They're just not ready to take the plunge and come back to normality. So I just thought that was interesting. I guess we all need to be fucking doing our hexes or whatever. These fucking lunatics do. So you have it. So, this was a long episode, but lots to talk about, important topics, perhaps a bit more serious than usual, not as funny. And of course, we did have a wonderful introduction to a very disturbed person, just one of many that I interact with on Twitter. And if you're disturbed, feel free to get in touch on Twitter especially. I will talk back. I will tweet back. I don't sit in an ivory tower. I don't want to censor you. I'll only block you as a last resort, and it's always for your benefit. So there you have it. Sam, since you've been super quiet, do you want to have the last word?
Last word. See, I like to end on something grandiose, mate. I need to have more of a preparation than this.
Just say rest in peace, Eazy-E.
I'm gonna go with. Nah, that was too overused. I know what I'm gonna finish with. We're all in a simulation.
All right, good. We'll talk about that next podcast, I think. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.